There's a lot of agents that are making a move right now in the market because things have gotten tough, right? Sales are down, fees are higher, it's more expensive to run a business. And so there are a lot of reasons why brokerages and even agents are making a move to brokerages like Real Broker. Today I'm with Kevin Knight, who is a great friend of mine. We used to be at Real Broker a while ago, and Kevin went out and started his own brokerage, Meta Realty. And so we had Real Amigos, we were doing a lot of stuff, and we wished him well when he left. And fast forward, almost 2-3 years later?
2 years.
Yeah, you're on your way back to Real Broker. So we're going to go through that. Kevin, good to see you, man.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good to see you again, too.
Awesome, man.
Like
so
home.
it feels like home, right? Walk us through the decision to leave Real Broker and what you wanted to do doing your own thing.
Yeah. So back when I was with Real, it was like 2021. Obviously, a lot of things were different. 2021 was a crazy real estate market, a lot of good things going on. And I think whenever there's momentum in anything, you're more excited to say like, hey, if this momentum keeps going, then I can fulfill, my vision for what I want my life to look like going into the future. And so it's easy to see that when things are going very well and there's a lot of momentum in these spaces. So things I was interested, obviously, I have a lot of experience in real estate. I also had experience, building business and coaching and training people to help them build businesses too. I did this before, I've done this, a number of times. So it was kind of a natural progression for me to open my own brokerage at some point. And that was always the plan from the day that I started in real estate. The day that I became a real estate agent almost 10 years ago and worked at Keller Williams, and I was like, hey, here's my brand. I want to be able to brand myself alongside Keller Williams. That was always really important. So, one of the things that was going on, obviously, the real estate market was very strong during that time. Also, cryptocurrency and the excitement in that space. We'd reached like the third or fourth big cycle in crypto and people were going nuts over it. A lot of stuff with NFTs, a lot of discussion about how real estate could be documented or how real estate documentation could be improved using blockchain. And that was always something I was very interested in and thought, hey, this is really an opportunity to merge these spaces and, see if we can't change the industry going forward. And, very excited about that. Obviously got off on a great start, was recording deeds to the blockchain, Ethereum blockchain. So when we would sell a property, we would record that transaction to the Ethereum blockchain on a blockchain address. And I would give my clients, the certification basically that said, this has been recorded. And, in the future, this is indelibly etched. If anybody ever has a question about it, you can upload your documents and have a repository. And I do feel like, generally speaking, long term, that's the way to do it. But, practically there's challenges around doing that from an adoption standpoint.
Gotcha.
Adoption is fast if people stand to make a lot of money. If they don't stand to make money as an industry, then the momentum will get killed, whether it's a good idea or not. This is late stage capitalism in a nutshell.
Well, that's the same thing as if you look at how many agents got into real estate during 2020, right? So, we actually had a high of agents getting in 2019, and then it dropped drastically in 2020. And then when people realized that the market wasn't dead, you had tons of new agents in, and now we're seeing a ton of agents leave the market.
Right.
It's like a 40% decline.
Yeah.
It's huge. So, okay, so you go to do your own thing for 2 years.
Yep.
What were the struggles as far as having your own brokerage, maybe that you didn't necessarily anticipate?
Yeah. When you're working against the tide of a market, because almost instantaneously after we opened, like we opened in 2022, the beginning of 2022, which was kind of after the big wave of real estate had happened. When you're fighting the forces in your own business against things that you weren't dealing with before, like people not coming to your listings, people, having to have more serious conversations with buyers about why their property doesn't have 50 offers.
Right.
We went from properties getting 15 to 50 offers to no one's interested to see your house at all the day it gets listed.
Right.
Those are hard conversations. And I think if you're not confident with yourself as a broker or as an agent, you're going to get swallowed up by that. You can't be successful. So the hard part is if you're recruiting agents into a brokerage at that point, you're trying to recruit people that are also kind of struggling a little bit or had seen a change in their business, or you're trying to bring on new agents and being realistic with them. Like, I want to be positive with you. This is going to be a lot harder than you think that it
Right.
is. And I think that was that lack of momentum, or even not even lack of momentum, just fighting against negative forces
Right.
is what changed during that time. So there's a struggle to get people on board as new agents, struggle generally speaking in business to just try to move that forward. One thing I do when I start businesses or I have a plan going to the future is I don't go all in financially to leverage against it to try to build a brand. That's not me. I like to bootstrap a business.
Right.
I like to, from the money that I'm making, I like to build the business forward. That's good because if you have to change paths, you can change very easily and you haven't lost a lot of money. The downside is, and it's the reason that most venture capitalists put money into businesses and knowing that they're going to lose money for a long time, is it's hard to grow a business
Right.
without a lot of money up front.
You know, you said something to me in there that I think is really important. So I've had ebbs and flows of having a team, and bringing on agents onto your team can be a challenge because you, number one, are running a business. Okay, you are the one taking care of P&L. You are the one trying to produce, and bringing on agents can be beneficial depending on how much they know. Right? If they're good producing agents, maybe they don't want to be on your team for a long time.
Right.
But they're less for you to have to train. Okay. But if you're bringing on new agents, it's a lot longer of a process to get them producing. And then do they leave because they get tired of the industry? And the attrition rate's about 90%, like 90% of people leave. So what is it with building a team and a brokerage that is beneficial coming to Real as far as a training standpoint? Like does coming to Real alleviate some of that?
So right out of the gate, I knew that I didn't want to necessarily, well, let me back up. Yes, being a broker, you have to decide, am I going to run a brokerage business where I do the business side stuff and then training people? Or do I try to produce as an agent and then have somebody else run the back end stuff? So I actually searched for a partner that would work with us to do the back end, like manage the documentation.
Like a side, something like that.
Yeah, like side or and we didn't use side, but I interviewed a couple other groups, marketing agencies to help with that work. And like the first time we did it, they were going through the same pain that we were going through where their business model just wasn't working. So the first group we worked with was not sustainable after about 6 months. They couldn't keep up, and offer the services they said they were going to offer for what they were going to charge to do that. So then we partnered with another group that was more focused on, like, very close to side. They will run your brokerage for you if you choose to do that route. And kind of the same thing happened. They were both good companies. It's just hard to get that off the ground if you're going against the forces of nature. So when we were finally kind of just figuring out by talking to my business partner and saying, listen, we either have to really go in and build this business with more agents, or we need to take a step back and just be agents and produce as agents and focus on that business. And right around that time is when you had mentioned to me, hey, Real is now offering the ability to bring your branding and your brokerage over to Real and utilize these tools.
Right.
And that really sparked an interest with me because, a number of things, but having a company that already has those tools and not just that, charges a reasonable amount for that.
Right.
But then also provides you the ability to grow your income residually. That's what we want. People that open brokerages, they want to grow their business, but then be able to build their income residually, right? They don't want to produce $50 million every year until they die.
Yeah, that's tough.
Right?
Dude. Yeah, I mean, especially when you're running with market issues, right?
Yeah.
Homes aren't selling. I mean, that is a fiery grind. So from a training standpoint though, do you think it's easier to actually get agents better training, considering Real has Real Academy, there's consistent classes, I teach classes, everybody teaches classes in there.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a better option for your agents on your team to actually get better training quicker?
Absolutely. And I don't think that from a brokerage standpoint, like if you were to create a brokerage, if I was going to talk to somebody that said, I want to create my own brokerage, I think you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest in those things.
Right.
Like if you don't have a full training academy or a back end service or an IT guy or a marketing team that's ready to go, you can't compete. And it makes no sense to compete with a company like the bigger players in this market. But that's why Real made so much sense, is because for us coming over and having the ability to recruit people and plug them into a system that exists. And then we focus on helping them with their core competencies,
Right.
being better real estate agents, being confident, navigating transactions. But the back end stuff, the training stuff, that if that exists, then it's an easier go for us to bring in the right people
Right.
that value that and then help them produce.
Yeah, and on top of that, plugging in your agents so you're not the one having to actually do all the micromanaging of the contracts too,
Sure.
right? Because that's the cool thing about bolting on is now you're bolting on and another broker is managing all
Yeah.
the quality concern issues on a
Yeah.
contract.
Right.
One thing I find that most companies like yourself, right? So you went out, you started your own branding, you had Meta Realty. One thing that people, when they go out and brand, I don't want to lose my brand, the identity
Yeah.
of what I've built. How does that look like for you jumping into Real? Do you have to get rid of all your branding completely? Are you sticking with your branding? Like, because with the pro teams and how we've done things there is that you've got options. You don't have to. So what are you doing with that?
Yeah, we're bringing the branding over. We're slightly modifying a little bit. In fact, my intent was that we were just going to bring the brand over and be a brokerage partner. I don't know what the right term is, but basically where Real would have a brokerage presence in our entity, and we would just keep the brokerage. That I think works very well if you have a decent sized brokerage.
Right.
Or you already have your systems and processes in place, but you want to take advantage of the structure and the freedom that Real offers.
Right.
So you're not reviewing contracts as a broker all the time or caught up in the minutia of running the business. You can be a producing agent or producing broker, build a team, and not have to worry about that. What we've opted to do ourselves is to take advantage more of bringing the branding over and kind of making it more a team in Real, because I want to recruit agents, and I think that there's power in the Real branding to recruit agents. People don't
To your
care.
team. You're talking about to your team. Yeah.
I mean, people want to work just like in real estate. If we went to the clients that we built relationship with, more often than not, the brand, the company doesn't have as much weight. And maybe it does in New York City and
Right.
stuff like that. But the reality is most of the time people want to work with you because
Right.
they like you, whether you're at one brokerage or at another brokerage. That's the clients that you want at least. So,
Well, I think what's great too is like you open up to a network, right? So for a small brokerage, you're famously locally known, right? The people that know you're the people that you've had to actually like touch. Whereas you can take and give time back into the ecosystem and have more eyeballs from, we're now at 20,000 agents. And so now you have opportunity to get more referrals. I legitimately got a referral last night at 6 p.m. from an agent that said, hey, I have a client for you. I've never met the agent at all, but they know me because they're at Real.
Right.
One thing we talked about earlier too that I wanted to go back on is that we were talking about the training part of it. I have agents that are paying Tom Ferry 25, 30 grand a year for training, and you can take that fee away, just plug people into the Real training. So you have your own branding, you can co-brand with Real, you have back-end support, you have the ability to reduce your marketing costs, right? Because we actually have a really nice marketing platform. Some have said that it's the same, if not slightly better than a big black and white brokerage that you're familiar with, the big marketing dollar name, and luxury.
Yeah.
I think for me, the luxury aspect of it is like, if I'm an agent that's a bigger producing agent and I want that luxury presence, I go to a Sotheby's, I go to a Compass because the era of that. But now we have Real luxury. So it's almost a no-brainer for somebody like you who does a lot. I mean, you have a $5.5 million listing right now in one of the most spectacular buildings in 70 Rainey.
Right. Yeah, I think it's both. And having the luxury add-on for Real establishing themselves as in that market and in that presence, I think does make a difference. And that's why I think it makes a difference to have both. It's not one or the other. Now, from my standpoint, I like to partner with brokerages that have a good name because I think the name can make a difference. However, I don't just want to be an agent. Just like when I worked in corporate America, I worked for one of the top 40 biggest market cap companies in the world. They could replace me with any engineer at any point in time. I was part of their ecosystem, but they didn't care about me as much. They'll say that they do because they want you to stay, but if you leave, they're okay with that.
Right.
Same with any other bigger brokerage. Like, I think it's important to feel like you're part of something bigger, but with the independence and responsibility of yourself being able to do that. And in fact, the biggest at the end of the day, weighing all these things out, whether you stay or whether you go to Real or whatever the case is, one of the biggest factors for me was I knew that when I recruited agents, if I recruited 100 agents, for example, into my brokerage, those 100 agents, the benefit that they were creating was rolling up to me and my business. At some point, the better performing of those agents realize that, and they say, I'm paying you a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
You're going on vacation, which there's no problem with that, but it hits a little different when you're going on vacation and they're home working and their split is going into your bank account.
Right.
Now, when you are in a model, and I'm big on profit sharing or like recruiting style businesses. I've done some in the past
Yeah.
that have been very
Beachbody. Look how
Beachbody, did
buff this guy
Beachbody.
is.
And, when you bring people on and the money that they pay helps go back to their pocket, they're happier, they want to stay longer,
Yeah.
and they don't look at you as the villain. You can take a vacation and they say, cool, I'm there next month with you.
Yeah.
Because of I'm producing, but we're producing together alongside each other.
Yeah.
So when I saw that and I said, listen, I would rather recruit 100 people and then we all have partake in this life together and share this wealth rather than it just rolling up to me and you're just a cog in the wheel of my business.
Yeah.
We're all doing this together, which again is why I think it was important for me to have the branding of my business and also in Real, because if somebody comes in and says, I love what Real offers, I want to work with you, I don't really care to have Meta Realty's logo though, I just want to be a real agent. Come on, we can work together, you can build your own business, and there's not like one or the other having to happen. So that was a big factor.
Yeah, I love it because the community aspect is one reason that I think a lot of individual agents are happy at Real, right? You have obviously you have revenue share, stock, all of those things. You have the training, you have community. That's one piece, but then you add on the ability to have a full-on community outside of where you'd be just locally, right? I guess, we do a lot of stuff here in Austin. You've been to it, and that's awesome. But to have an ability to connect with big-time agents outside of your market that really want to share, I think is awesome.
Oh, sure. So think about it. If you're if you were in this situation I was in, and you're in any market in the country where you're saying I want to build a brokerage, then you're recruiting agents. If I recruit, let's say I live in Austin, I've been here for a long time. If I recruit 50 agents and they're all in Austin, what if I decide to go somewhere else at some point?
Yeah.
Like now my whole business is in Austin alone, but now with the Real network, I can go recruit agents in markets all over the country and they can be part of the team and part of their market.
Yeah.
And if I go to another market, I'm not going to automatically lose them, because if I leave Austin, if I build a 50 agent network here and then I just leave, what are the chances that those people are going to stay? No, they're going to go somewhere else. Then all the time and money that you've invested in those people, it just goes by the wayside.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Not that you need another reason, but all these things together, I think were big factors in us bringing the business back over.
Well, there you go. You heard it from Kevin right there. So if you want to reach out to Kevin, his information will be down below. If you're a small team, a brokerage, or maybe you're somebody that just wants to join somebody who's really excited about what they're doing and grow your business, reach out to Kevin. We'll see you in the next video.